This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Dillon Gabriel debuted in the preseason last week. This is the first look that we got with him. And I think it's an interesting look. I thought the tape was pretty good for the most part, but we're going to jump in to the film breakdown. We're going to start with the first play of the day. Let's let it run through, then we'll talk about it. So Dillon here. A little motion from Jamari Thrash into an empty look. There's pressure, and he's sacked. My first thing I've noticed here, I think he got spooked a little early. I think he got a little excited here, right? Not to say that the pressure wasn't there. There's clearly a miscommunication here on the slide. So I don't know if this was him not checking to the right protection or if this was a offensive line not getting the memo. It's kind of hard to tell here. But something happens with the protection. It allows Jihad Campbell to slide through, right? I can see how, so something happened here with the slide. The communication was unclear here. That allows a free runner, and that creates the sack. So that's the first thing that goes wrong here. In an ideal world, and look, Dillon's not the biggest guy in the world, so I don't know if this is something he can do, but in an ideal world, I would like him to not get so flighty here because he has an answer with this stick route from this tight end. It's a clear answer here to get out of this trouble here, right? So he starts looking right. They put Jamari Thrash in motion. It's not really going to be there. The corner has the right leverage there, and there's pressure, so the throw's not going to be on time. So I don't mind moving off of that. He gets his eyes to the right place where he's at finding that stick. You just want him to, pull the trigger here, right? Because there's an answer here. So if we roll this back, want your eyes on him. He's going to be doing a little stick route here. I'm terrible at drawing. Forgive me. So did I highlight the right guy? Yeah, so again, here, it's a little stick here. And unfortunately, we don't get the ball out. Could have got him out of trouble. I'm sure they told him, because right there, you can make it like a 3rd and 1. Hell, you might even get first down there, right? Just get yourself out that trouble. You're not going to run away from it. Throw your way out of it, There's a little window there. There's a passing window there. I think that's reasonable to ask. I think some people might say it's unreasonable. I think it's reasonable. You can see the protection mess up here, right? So the big question is like, why is 70 in no man's land here? Was this like a slide left, half slide right situation? It's not how far that would be out. Was it one of those, or did the center not slide over to the protection correctly? What exactly happened here? 2-jet, 3-jet situation. I don't know. All I know is that the slide was not executed properly, whichever way it was supposed to go. So, yeah, something happened there with communication. Still, look at the window he has, right, to get that ball to 89. It's tight. You're going to have to take a hit. I'm not saying it's clean, but that's the NFL, right? It's tight. You're going to have to take a hit. It's going to suck, but it's there. It's there. It's just enough time and space. Now, where I thought Dillon was really good at in this game is in 3rd down. This is a 3rd and long look. And look, a lot of people are really judgmental on what quarterbacks do on 3rd down for good reason, right? Because if a quarterback can do a lot on 3rd down, move the ball on 3rd down, that's somebody who's going to keep you on the field. That's somebody who's going to help you play winning football, right? So 3rd down execution, incredibly important. We see how Dillon executes here, gets a motion from Jamari. Jamari runs back, kind of this gives you a tell on what's going on with this DB, right? Okay, seems like he's locked in man coverage, so you get one answer there. And then this concept, it really does put a lot of people in conflict here. So first thing, you got a little high-low going on this side, right? So a little high-low. I think the corner gets pretty good leverage to start on Jamari. I think Jamari does a good job of beating him back outside to that corner. But by the time he does, the window's kind of closed up in the pocket to throw it. So I don't mind moving off of that. Maybe if that's like Jerry Jeudy and you have more trust in that wide receiver to win in that situation, you just say, screw it, I'm going to trust my guy there. But I don't mind moving off of that. Especially considering, like, hey, look, he has the angle on him. It's 3rd and 10. I need to get all right here because I'm on my side of the field. I don't mind moving off of that. I think that's a good decision. You don't really care much for this underneath stuff, but look here. This underneath stuff gives you the answer that you're going to need, because what's going on here is they're running him out on a check release to the flat. They got Cedric on a drag right here, and then they have a dig over top of this, right? So what you're watching, if you're Dillon, and what you want to see Dillon watch, is what's called middle of the field, MOF. You ever hear me say MOF? You ever hear anybody say MOF? They're talking about quarterbacks, middle of the field. This is a big question because Dillon Gabriel is small. Let's say it with me, right? So what you worry about somebody who's small, right? Let's just imagine this right here, right? This is Dillon Gabriel. This is the offensive line. This is the MOF, right? You're worried about if Dillon Gabriel can see over the line to find this. That is a very artistic demonstration of this, and I will be selling that screenshot for $12,000 per print. So if you want one of those, let me know. I'll get my Picasso out to you. But in all seriousness, this is a big question for Dillon. Can he read the middle of the field? Well, that's what he's being asked to do once he gets to the second progression here. Because the way this works, more than likely, is you have your first answer here, the motion out, right? That's answer one. You have another answer in that same line of sight. So let's pull that up here. Let's slow it back down. But you have another answer in that same line of sight, right? Because you have Cedric Tillman coming across the field. So you have two answers on that side of the field. And then if you go back late, you have two other answers, right? You got the check release, and then you have the dig. This is a really good play call concept from Kevin. I like this. This is good stuff, right? So what you like here from Dillon is that this pocket is a mess, and he just gets through the concept and he runs it as you want. It's 3rd and 10. Remember, he has to get 10 yards here, and he works through this beautifully, right? Checks here. Okay, cool. Works back middle, under duress, right? Doesn't freak out, still keeps his eyes downfield. And what's he reading right now? What you want him to read is this little triangle right here, right? Like this little triangle. What happens? Who goes to the check release, right? Does he stay over here? Does he go downhill? Does he follow? Who's got what? You want to read this clearly and cleanly in order to know where to go with the football. And I think Dillon does this really well. You can see the Eagles, who did a good job on the right side of this concept. They had a little mistake here, right? And that's why you want to put as many players in conflict on a passing concept as possible, because it's hard for all 11 players not to make one mistake. And if your quarterback can find the one mistake, well, then you got a completion there, right? So this linebacker here, let me see if I can pull his number. But this linebacker here, let me highlight him for you. He makes the mistake, right? He goes for the check release, letting the tight end slip by him. Also, this outside corner 21 also goes for the check release, which I believe is his responsibility to begin with. And he goes for the check release. That leaves a wide open window here for 86. And rip it, grip it, and get the first down. That's great. That's great there. That's great there. Read the middle of the field well. Again, something you're worried about because Dillon Gabriel is, say it with me, y'all, the man is short, right? Man short, offensive line tall, middle of the field between short man and tall offensive line. You're going to naturally be concerned about if the short man can see over the tall man to find the middle of the field. He did a great job navigating it. Let's look at the end zone footage here because I think he did a great job. In the end zone footage, you can really see where he's able to maneuver this pocket really, really well here, right? And again, this is impressive. He has to do this so often to be decent at quarterback in the NFL, right? So he gets, I think Dewan actually, is that Dewan? Yeah. Dewan actually does a good job getting Ojulari to blow by. That's a good job by Dewan using his length to get him to blow by. Right tackle here, I think Mr. Barton, he's having a little bit more of a rough day. It gets to his chest, slaps his hands out. Decent enough recovery to get some length in there, right, to get some distance so he doesn't go straight line to the quarterback. Unfortunately for Barton, if that's like Myles Garrett or a better edge, he's just able to run under that, but he's not going to be out there versus Myles Garrett, right? So 8-0 runs under, gets good pressure. I think 68 does a decent job recovering. But good job by Dillon not to panic here, right? Because look how tight this shit is. He's right on Whippler's ass, like literally, like right upon him. Not a lot of space to work with, but look what he does. He just finds a window, scoots into that passing window, and throws that football right there. That's what you want to see. You know, when we talk about quarterbacks being short and everybody freaks out about batted passes, there's one stat that most people throw out there that kind of combats that thinking of like, oh, short quarterback, a lot of batted passes. Where if you look at the quarterbacks who have the most batted passes in the NFL, it's usually a mix of really, really tall guys, some short guys in there. But it's not necessarily, oh, every single shorter quarterback gets their balls batted down at the line of scrimmage all the time. The reason that is the case is because whether you're 5'11 or you're 6'6, you're still going to have to navigate the pocket at some level to find passing windows. I highlighted this. I thought Shedeur did a really good job with this last week in finding passing windows. For Shedeur, it's not as necessary as it is for Dillon, but Shedeur's not giant, right? He's only like 6'1", 6'2", so he's going to have to find passing windows to be able to throw the ball. Obviously, for somebody like Dillon Gabriel, this is a crucial skill set that he needs to have. And to Dillon's credit, I haven't heard of his passes being batted at the line of scrimmage a ton in training camp. You didn't even see it once in this game, I believe. He's doing a really good job of finding those windows, selecting those windows, and not panicking here. And that's helped them get through this whole play and find the right answer. I mean, that's impressive right there. That's really impressive work on the 3rd and 10. All right, let's get to the next play. Next play here, I think he scrambles. And really the thing I want to know is this just how slow he looks, or is this because he had the hamstring injury? Because that's concerning, right? I don't know if he ran a 40. I don't think he ran a 40. But yeah, it's concerned as I was about Sanders. It looks like Dillon is slower than Sanders. And, I thought Sanders was faster than I anticipated him being in his preseason game. It looks like Dillon is slower. Now, again, he's coming off the hamstring injury, so maybe that had something to do with him not looking very fast here. Then it does seem like he's not able to hit a certain gear. So that's a question, right? Is that just a hammy, or is he just slow? Because, again, You're 5'11", you're playing quarterback. You got to rely on a lot of different skill sets to be able to stay above water. And being able to be a little slippery back there is going to have to be one of them. So you want to see him be able to have some decent athletic ability, certainly more athletic than this demonstrates him being right now. So we'll see. All right, the next play here is Jamari Thrash. Gets the ball here, pretty strong throw, on time, accurate, 3rd down conversion to Jamari Thrash. Let me skip through because I think this is just a run again. Pretty good. conversion here to Jamari Thrash. Again, they have him in motion, put him in a stack. When you get him in a stack, just bust his man, just breaks his man right here with a little out. Great route by Jamari Thrash. Good throw by Dillon Gabriel. On time, accurate, great execution there. And again, it's 3rd and 5. So it's another 3rd down conversion. Pocket didn't really get that messy, but he stayed in there, kept his depth there. Both quarterbacks doing that well in the preseason. And again, just good job just waiting for it, timing to break and get that ball out. Boom, good job, 1st down. And I think that ball was really placed right where it needed to be in order to be a 1st down conversion here because, there was pretty tight coverage there. But good job by Dillon and good job by Jamari Thrash. Right, but look at where this ball kind of sits here. Yeah, that's a great job there by both. Good catch. All right. What's the next one? Is this another 3rd down? Are we going to jump to another 3rd down here? Yeah, 3rd and 2. This one was so funny to me because some people were critical of this, and I'm like, I don't understand why you would be critical of this. Right, 3rd and 2. You're on plus side of the field. They give you an answer here. Pierre Strong coming out the backfield. Take it. 1st down. Move the game on. It's so interesting, right? Because we put these labels on things, and then when you start these labels, people learn how to throw a basic identification of these labels onto something, and then they just say, oh, it's a check down. It's bad. Checkdowns are not bad. Checkdowns are good, right? If you're hitting your check down on 3rd and 2 and it gets you a 1st down, that's good quarterback play. That's what Tom Brady did, right? And he hit his check down on 3rd and 2. That's what Peyton Manning would do, right? He has a famous quote about double under, right? Just throw the dusty and move on with the game. So that's good execution there. I know some people are like, oh man, it's a check down. It's not impressive, but it's like, it's not impressive, but you got to just be able to hit your layups, take what the defense is giving you. And I think if there's one critique in Sanders' game last week was that there were times where the defense was giving him answers that were much easier than the ones he was trying to take, right? And I think that's a criticism that he probably got in the quarterback room that they would use to help him be better because you don't want to have to rely on throwing tight windows all the time in the NFL, right? If you can get an easy little check down curl on 3rd and 2, you want that because you want to save the times where you have to break in the top window, those tight windows throws when you need them. And this is a good job by Dillon. Again, 1st down, move on with the game. If it's a check down, it's a check down, but who cares? It's a 1st down. You know what I mean? If he threw this on 4th and 25, I'd be upset, but this is not 4th and 25. It's 3rd and 2. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. So good stuff there, right? Little check down. If you could get the 1st down that easily, why not, right? Make the game easy on yourself. Sometimes good quarterback play is just making the game look simple. All right. Where are we at now? Okay. This is another one, right? Just take what's there, 1st down. You get it 8 yards on 1st down, you take that every time, right? This is a chance to get 8 yards on 1st down, little 2-step. Throw it in there, boom. Even gives them a little chance to break it off, get some yak. Maybe if that's Jerry Jeudy in there, he could do that, or David Njoku. Anytime you get to set up 2nd and short, you take it, right? I don't care if people think it's a check down. Make your life easier. This is the stuff that I remember talking about this with Cam Ward's tape, where my big issue with Cam Ward was how difficult he made everything that he had to do on a consistent basis at Miami, and how I felt like that led to Miami losing some games that they shouldn't have lost. And this is something that people don't really think about when they're just looking at all 22 or watching the game detached from when it's happening, is these little small decisions, just taking what's there, right? Getting a 2nd and short, getting into a better situation on the play sheet. These really make a difference over the course of a game and, contribute to playing what people call winning football, right? There's a reason why some quarterbacks tend to win more than other quarterbacks, even though they might be the same level of good. It's where that good is applied and how difficult they make their lives when they're out there. And Dillon does a great job of making his life easy, working in the structure of this offense. And I think that's a really good thing to see from a rookie quarterback, right? And that's kind of indicative of what the Browns have been telling us that they thought they saw in Dillon when they drafted him. So there's that. All right, let's look at this next play. This is play action look, step. So this is the one where he did not want to pull the trigger, throws the check down here. I think the coverage is really good. This happened a couple of times where like Deontay Johnson on the opposite side of the play gets a pretty decent release. And like you could throw this. And like I would almost prefer you throw this. Like kind of like, hey man, if it goes out of bounds, it goes out of bounds. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't know if he's confident with the hamstring that he can throw that. But, you know, I would prefer he throw it instead of like hold, take a bad check down. And that could have been tipped and intercepted. Now, Pierre Strong absolutely has to catch that. I mean, there's no excuse for him not to catch that. It's right in front of his face. But it wouldn't have gone anywhere even if he did. I think the only chance he had to get anything positive on this play was if he just threw one up for Deontay Johnson. Maybe he gets it. He falls down, but maybe you can get a pass interference call like that. You know, maybe you get a PI if you get that ball to him, get a catchable ball to him. So I wouldn't have mind taking it. And this wasn't one of those times where like Dillon's looking on one side of the field, the safety's on that side, so it looks like somebody's open. You can tell when Dillon swings his eyes over back to Deontay Johnson right here at this point. Boom. Deontay has to step. The safety's clearly on the other side. You know, there's a chance to complete that ball or at least get a PI there that you would want him to take. It's a tough throw, and I don't know if he's confident he can make it, but some of the throws I saw him make in this game, I see no reason why he couldn't have thrown that, you know. So, yeah, it's really good coverage, but, you know, you get a free release there. You catch it late. You see it. Just throw it and see, you know, it could be out of bounds, but it's better than going to Pierre Strong there. And again, this is hindsight days later. I'm in a chair watching this shit in slow motion. It sounds very easy when I say it. It's much more difficult than that in real life. So, you know, I'm not trying to act like I am the arbiter of all what's right. All right, 2nd and 15. Let's get to that play. Let's skip through this. There's really nothing interesting to watch here. All right, let's get to that play. 2nd and 15. So need to get about half of this back. And what happens? All right, so they get this ball to Jamari Thrash. I think Thrash does a great job of selling this route vertically. I think Dillon doesn't get this ball out in time. Now, Thrash does a good job catching it. Dillon is a little late here, and I think what Dillon does do well here is he realizes he's late, and he makes up for it by really firing this one off. Because you see right here, you know, you usually want that ball to be on its way by the time he's turning around, right? You don't want him sitting for too long, especially in that part of the field. It's really dangerous. But Dillon's holding on to this still. He didn't really let go. So he was late here, but he was able to make this completed because look how he just fires that in there. That was a laser right there. And that's something that Dillon has that I don't think I gave him a lot of credit for. You know, he has a fastball for sure. I think he probably has, outside of Joe Flacco, the best fastball on the team. That's drive right there. That's coming fast. It's not the only ball he threw like that in this game. So good job making up for it being late, but just would prefer he not be late. Right? Because who knows? First team defense, they're all over that. You sit that long, you know. So good job making up for it, but don't be late. 3rd and 4 is kind of a pick aside look. You get Jamari Thrash against the linebacker in this next set. You like that look, you take that look, you get the first down. That's fine. Right, let's rewind it. Again, you get Jamari Thrash here in the slot. The linebacker takes him. Good job putting him in conflict with the play call. Stems it off, beats him. Easy 3rd down conversion. So good shot, good shit. Also, want to point out, right, crowded pocket, throwing this opposite hash to the numbers. These are the throws that you were like, hey, can Dillon Gabriel make it? Does he have the arm strength to make it? Looks like he does, right? That zip there, boom. Look how that drives. Look how he drives this. I don't even think he gets the opportunity to really follow through on this throw. Crowded pocket. This is the stuff you were worried about. Can he see over it? Can he drive it? Well, he's seeing over it. He's driving it. He's alleviating your concerns about his height. Let's look at this from the other angle. But again, like this is the stuff that you wanted to see Dillon do. Again, tight pocket. He has 56 right in his lap right now. He's getting bull rushed. Luckily, nobody gets their hands up. But even if they did, look how he found the window. He scooted into that window. Little soft step right there, right? Clean, 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 drop, and a little step into the window, finds the window, launches the ball. And look how far that ball has to travel, and look how much giddy up that ball has. Let's play it in regular motion real quick. That ball has some giddy up to it. I think officially I could take arm strength as a concern off of my concerns about Dillon Gabriel. I was concerned about it in the draft. Senior Bowl didn't really alleviate those concerns. This game, I think I'm taking it off. There were enough throws here where I'm like, yeah, I don't care about that anymore. I think his arm's fine. There's another one here. It's a hawk concept in this next play that I thought was really impressive. So play action. So hawk concept, it looks like dagger, but backwards, basically, right? So here, out, 9. It looks like they're running a flat underneath it. So it's kind of like, it could be hawk. It could be levels. It could be drive, which is drive, but the opposite way. So that's what they're running. And this is a big boy throw here by Dillon. This is a big boy throw here by Dillon, right? Play action, turn around, gets a clean pocket, boom. Look at that drive on that ball there, right there. And that's about 5, 10, 15, 17 air yards vertically. And then he's throwing it from the opposite hash here. So he's throwing from opposite hash to opposite number with anticipation, and that ball has giddy up on it, right? So let's look at it again. From one hash, drop, steps, throws it from that hash, and look at that ball drives right into Cedric Tillman. That's good arm strength right there. That's a good throw. It's a great throw. Really drives it. That's great. So not only is this ball going 20 yards downfield, but it's also going another 20 yards, horizontally. This is a tough throw to make. You try to make this throw at home. You try to throw this at home, you probably make it to the 45 and it gets picked off by the middle linebacker. This is a great throw. This is kind of stuff too you want to see Dillon be able to do with ease, and I think that's the most impressive thing from this throw. He didn't have to be perfect here, right? He didn't have to double glute it, right? He pumps a little bit, but he didn't have to double glute it. He was just able to get this one out pretty clean here. And he threw him upfield. You see how he pushes Cedric Tillman upfield here with this throw? Cedric didn't have to jump. I think if Cedric doesn't jump, he could probably turn and run with this. But, yeah, I'm just happy Cedric caught it with his hands and not with his chest, because that's been a problem with Cedric. But, yeah, your wide receiver doesn't jump there. You probably get 5, 10 extra yards. It's a good job by Dillon. It's a good job. It's great execution. It's a big boy throw. And look, these throws aren't just getting there. They're getting there with some giddy up, right? That's not hanging. That's not hanging in the air there. That's good. All right, let's get this next one on here, and we can look at just how far this ball traveled real quick before we go to the next play. Look how far this ball travels from the end zone angle. That's good, and good drive there. That's great. All right, Next play here, great execution, on time, on target's what I have written down. Let's see what it looks like. Little blitz, throws right over it. Good job. Good job. Again, real quick, sees the blitz. Linebacker comes down, walks into the gap. Doesn't really panic, knows he has something over it, throws it. That's how you beat it. That's how you beat it. Now you're in 3rd and short. Nope, first down, he got it. That's great execution right there. It's really great execution. All right, let's look at the interception. I thought Dan Orlovsky had a great explanation for this, and I thought he had a great explanation for the fumble as well. So right now we'll jump to his explanation on the interception. I agree with most of this, and I do kind of owe apology to Deontay Johnson because I thought he ran a shit route. It wasn't his fault, actually. So let's hear Dan.
Gabriel's tape was fantastic. Let's talk about the pick 6. Okay, so it's keeper, and there's a lot of layers to this. So I think the overall learning is, hey, you at the end of the day have the ball last. So make elite, great, what is best for our team decisions. There's also a reality of not every interception is like totally on the quarterback. A lot of layers to it, okay? So when you're going through this keeper stuff, a couple things. Number one, let's talk about what we call this slide route, okay? The way I've been around it with the slide route is, this is decision-making time for that player. Not easy, but it's decision-making time. You would prefer this player to flush the flat right now. Get out to the flat right now. Defender does a good job. So now it's decision-making time. Spacing matters, okay? Are you going over the top? Or are you going to go underneath? Now, if you go underneath, you kind of got to get back to your landmark, though, dude, because there's layers to the depth of the routes. So he gets contacted and then kind of like drifts, okay? Drifts, and then it looks like he's going to get past that defender and run, and then he gets past that defender and stops, okay? Not blaming anything here. This is all learning. But as the quarterback, you're in like no man's land right now. Like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? Like, you're expecting this guy to be there, all right? And now let's go to the down flat. That's this tight end right here. How many counts is it? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Okay, so 2, 3 Mississippi. I don't have a huge problem with his spacing. His spacing feels restricted. Like, look at this as the quarterback. You got 3 guys within 6 yards of each other, 5, 6 yards of each other. This spacing stinks, okay? Now, backside receiver, who's on that over route. I actually like the fact that he's trying to continue to push across. Just a great play by the safety. I think Gabriel's actually throwing the ball to this player. Okay, I think he's throwing the ball to that guy thinking he's going to keep running. And then there's just that moment of miscommunication. So the spacing jacks this play up. That slide receiver jacks this play up. Don't make that decision, no question. But I think he's making the decision to throw to that guy, and it's not going to be a pick 6 if he is. See it from the other angles, okay? From the quarterback perspective. You're like, who do I throw the ball to? Again, I think this guy's the intended target. Just can't make that decision late. Right or wrong. Great effort.
All right, so Dillon, after throwing that interception, I think one of the things that's important is like, okay, mistakes are going to be made. You're going to throw an interception at some point. You're going to throw a pick 6 at some point if you play quarterback. You would love to avoid all of those situations if possible, but the truth is you can't. So you throw a pick 6, you throw an interception. Okay, how do you bounce back from that? You know, one of the things I've always saw with DTR that's bugged me is like the second he makes a mistake, mentally you could just see him start to spiral. You know, with Dillon, I thought he did a good job not spiraling here, right? So throws the pick 6, makes the big mistake, shouldn't have threw it, cool. And then you start to worry because he misses this layup, right? This is a slip screen. This would have hit. This would have hit if he would have just got the ball to him on target. Now, we're going to look at the end zone angle to why this was off target, and this again brings up a question about his height. Because you see here, the reason it's off target, he has to throw over Cornelius Lucas. The ball doesn't drop. And maybe, just maybe, the running back is not in the right depth. Maybe he's throwing to a spot. The running back's not there. That's certainly a possibility, right? But whatever's happening, you want that play to be completed. Small details, right? Because he gets the timing right. The timing's there. Maybe he's supposed to be a little bit over. Maybe Dillon's throwing this ball a little bit too far over. I think that's probably what's happening here. Dillon threw the ball too close to the numbers. I think the running back's in the right spot. He's trying to throw over that guy. It doesn't drop. It's a missed opportunity. Now, I don't know how much would have happened here because, like, it seems like 54 kind of sees what's up here. And it doesn't seem like you get a good block. You're getting a good angle from your guard. That pulled on that, well, that came out front for that. You know, your left guard here, or your right guard. Doesn't seem like you get a real good angle here. So probably would have went for nothing. But still, you know, got to complete the layups. All right. So this one I have reading the North Triangle. Great execution. Let's see why I have that marked in here. So this is a trips, a motion into a duo. We'll deuce. Okay, yeah, this is just good execution. So what he's reading here, there's like this little triangle near the numbers that you want him to read. Right, this triangle of players. Who goes who goes where, what happens. Once you see this man pick up him, that man went to the flat, and boom, play work. Just get the ball out on time. Nice anticipation. Nice throw, accurate. Let him get some speed, and then Jamari Thrash does the rest. Good execution. Great execution. Got the answer, took it, and see what happens when you throw an accurate ball on time. Fine execution and throw is what I have marked for this next one. Let me see if he found a window real quick before I jump to the next play. Yeah, again, found a window here, right? I think that was pretty good by Dillon. He kept finding windows. That one was pretty natural to him. Found a window, got a good ball to him. Good stuff. All right. So this one right here is interesting because, like, you can watch it and be like, oh, Dillon didn't get this ball out in front of him. I think Dillon was actually good on this play. That ball is right where it's supposed to. That ball is on time, thrown right out the break. I think the player who messed up is Gage here. Gage ran a pretty shitty route. So I imagine he's supposed to break this dig off a little bit deeper. So I imagine it's supposed to be rounded off here and then ran on this 30, right? That's the landmark for him. Instead, what happens with Gage on this route is that he runs this off and then breaks it off early around here and then drags it upfield, right? And what that does is close the gap between his DB and him. You'll see it right here. So we're going to watch Mr. Laverton over here. Thought I had the box down. But we're going to watch Mr. Laverton over here. And you can see he cuts this one a little shallow. So one doesn't really do a good job of, tree uniformity, right? You want every route to look the same at the start. This one looks clear, like he's going to run over. So not a great sell job here. Pretty much tips off his DB immediately that he's going to cut this one in. And then he cuts it early. And look at the space here. Look how he closes the space here on this cut around. You see how he closes the space for his DB? You see how he starts here? Right? There's this level of distance. Well, if he breaks off the route properly, he's going to have that level of distance on the 30. But since he cut it early and didn't cut it where he's supposed to, and this is just my guess here from what I'm seeing, I might be wrong. You see him try to drift back to his landmark here. Because there's no way that's a post, right? You see him drifting back to his landmark. And while he's drifting back to his landmark, what happens? He closes the distance of his DB into his body, and that DB now gets to make a play on the ball. Wide receivers got to run a better route here, right? This is an example of like a wide receiver creating a breakup. And like, you know, as much as like Gage is making plays on punt returns and everybody's like, he needs to make the team. This is stuff you see where you're like, oh, he's not going to make the team as a wide receiver, right? Maybe the practice squad, but this is the small detail stuff, right? The route's cut off way too early. And then he closes the distance with the DB, helps him carry ground, creates a pass breakup. Dillon's throwing that to that spot on the 30. He's on time. He's in the right spot. Waits for Deontay to clear, gets to clear. If you run that route properly, it's probably a big completion. But instead, you know, doesn't get the route ran properly, gets a breakup. Small details, you know. Whenever you hear a quarterback talk about it, it sounds like coach speak. It sounds like bullshit sometimes, but it's real. It's real. It's small details. And small details like that right there on that play, the difference between a big chunk completion and a big pass breakup for Philly right there. So, yeah, man, those small details, they matter, especially in an offense like the Browns offense, right? These small details are important. It's just a basic check here, right? Okay, nothing. Pick a side. He picked a side. He would have had an answer on either side. 86 is open here on the release in the flat. And the check down's wide open here. I think he picked the right side. Amani Marshall, get the running backs downhill, extended handoff. Get 8 yards on what, 1st and 10? You'll take it every time. I'll take it every time. I'll take 8 yards on 1st down. All right, the next play here. I have written bad routes. Okay, so I don't know if these routes are that bad. I don't know. I might have been too mean when I was marking these down initially. So Deontay runs like a double move here. Dillon does not seem to be interested in that look, and the reason he's not interested is because of this safety right here, right? Like that man right there. He's sitting kind of like, not lurking like the technique, but just kind of like lurking in the background, waiting for Dillon to think that that's open and throw it so he can try to hop it. So good job avoiding that, seeing that, right? He's kind of just following Dillon's eyes. If Dillon's eyes were over at Deontay, he'd be all the way over at the number. So good job avoiding that. Your tackle gets mollywopped here by Azeez Ojulari. Good hands, closes the gap, gets under. We know Azeez did that well at Georgia. Yeah, you probably want him to just throw this little curl back here. But you just don't get good routes from everybody else, too. Like, I don't think Jamari is running a particularly great route. It kind of like trying to get this release by, does a little hop step there, but it's not going to be there in time with this pressure. So it's not a bad route by Jamari, but it's actually just not enough time to complete that one. The routes you do have time to complete, I don't think 86 does a good job here selling that stem up to get enough space here for you to throw that. That looks like a pass breakup waiting to happen. And then like Gage is over here, but I don't know if you want to get to that late, right? Like, you know, I think you got to pick that to start. And even then, I don't think Gage really sells this stem up either. Like, so yeah, I just throw this out, take the sack. Just don't turn the ball over in that situation so you can kick the field goal. All right, the next play is the fumble. And again, Dan Orlovsky, I thought, did a pretty good breakdown on that, so I'm just going to insert that clip here.
There's just so much that each player has to pay attention to and that is needed on a details and a fundamentals basis for any one play in football to be executed properly. Okay, so the Browns are running what we call a wham concept here. Trap concept, the block comes, you leave an unblocked defensive lineman in trap, and the block usually is trapping him from the inside, okay? Wham, you leave an unblocked defensive lineman, and the trap block is going from the outside in, okay? So you're leaving that guy unblocked. There's that wham by that tight end. tackle would have that defender. Looks like this receiver should be folding inside up to that secondary defender. So really good play design, okay? Couple things to start with, okay? Number one, running backs. They're taught landmarks, okay? So it looks like this back's landmark, meaning his track, where his initial target is for the run, it looks to be like outside leg of that tackle. And so you teach these backs, you're going to your landmark. Number two, you make your pocket. And number three, don't look for the ball. It's the quarterback's job to get you the ball. So this looks like the back is doing all the right things. Go to your landmark, make your pocket. It's a good pocket. And it doesn't look like his eyes go down. I can't see him, but his head stays straight up. So it looks, and I don't know what his landmark is, what he's getting taught exactly here, but it looks like he's doing the right thing, all right? Now for the quarterback. One, did not take a ton of snaps under center in college. Okay, so you're learning all the footwork of this, how do you take the ball, and what steps do you have to go operate under to get certain handoffs? Because sometimes handoffs are what we call the midline. That's what it looks like he is operating here. Sometimes they're in that A gap, which is between the center and guard. Sometimes B gap between guard tackle. Sometimes C gap. So like that first step that the quarterback takes is huge when it comes to getting the ball where the back expects it. I want you guys to see Gabriel's left foot. Okay, his left foot steps essentially behind himself. This looks like, at least that moment, the back's going to go there. Instead of, you would really want that left step to be kind of, let's call it a yard from where it ends up. You would want that left leg to be there, because then you don't get to this position, right? So these aren't red flags. This isn't concerning. This is a learning moment of how all of it is tied together. When you're playing in a complete stylistic offense, when you're doing it all of it matters. So for Gabriel, this would be just a really good learning moment for him.
All right, so the 2-minute drill to end Dillon's time out there. I thought it was a pretty good 2-minute drill from him, right? Now, if you've watched Kevin Stefanski call an offense for a while, especially 2-minute drills, you know he loves to do what you're about to see here at the start of a 2-minute drill. And I think Dillon did a good job executing it. So let's move over to the 2-minute drill. Stefanski loves a deep end over the middle of the field to start a 2-minute drive. And good execution here by Dillon. Reads the middle of the field cleanly. Again, he did that all day today. Despite the fact that Philly was throwing in some disguises and like doing some extra stuff, right? I certainly look, I don't know if the players were better than last week, and it's an apples to oranges comparison. I'll get to that. So I don't really want to do too much of it. But Philly was definitely running closer to what NFL teams are going to run defensively than Carolina was, which they were running pretty basic stuff there, right? So this is a little bit more complex. They got guys coming down in coverage, rolling up. You know, they're trying to confuse him. He sees it well, sees the linebacker flat-footed, knows he has a break, throws that right to that landmark. Boom, 89 on target, on time, with anticipation. And what does anticipation grant you? Yak. 89 gets upfield. You can get about like 10, 12 extra yards there. That's a hell of a way to execute that. That's really, really good. We know Stefanski goes to that all the time in 2-minute drills. That's something that he expects his quarterbacks to be able to execute, and that's good execution there. The next throw, I think Dillon was a little late on, was right here. Again, it's a similar concept. It's a dig here from Deontay Johnson. I think the route's actually good by Deontay. The ball's late from Dillon. And I gave Deontay a lot of shit during the game. Deontay wasn't as bad as I thought he was, right? Good release here. It's kind of like a diamond release where he takes 2 steps out. So little diamond, 1, 2, break you out, try to go back inside. And then he stems this up pretty good. Breaks off his man. Good job there. The ball should have been out around the break because this window is pretty tight. Dillon gets this thing out late, and then it's behind. Like maybe you want Deontay to be able to track that a little better, but it's really hard to ask him to do. You gotta just get that ball out in time. So that's not the execution you want there from Dillon. Now you end up in a 2nd and 20 now, and this is a pretty big play. You end up in a 2nd and 20, and you're not in field goal range yet, so you got to get into field goal range here. I thought Dillon did a great job to get in field goal range here, right? Again, reading the middle of the field, doing a great job reading the middle of the field, staying calm in the pocket, and then firing a laser, and boom, that gets you into field goal position. And then he finishes off it. I'm just taking a check down on the next play, taking the points. That's good game management. So there is Dillon Gabriel's preseason debut. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. I was impressed when I watched it initially. I know there's been a ton of negativity around this game because of the fumble and the interception, but it's the preseason, right? You know, we're not judging everything based off of result as much as we're looking at progress, because ultimately this game is a practice game, right? And that practice, you look at process, not really results as much. So I know there's some people fixated on the result of it. How could he have a good game? He threw an interception. He fumbled the ball. Yeah, he has to clean those things up. But at the end of the day, what you saw from him when he was actually dropping back as a passer, I thought was very encouraging. The one thing I will note that I think is clearly different from this week's tape to last week's tape, and there are a number of reasons this could be, but what we saw in this game felt a lot closer to the offense that the Browns are going to run in 2025 than last week. Last week, they ran a ton of stick, like nothing but stick, just basic out-the-box stick, right? Nothing really game planned, nothing really specific, which stood out to me. And I think the reason that was because it's week 1 of the preseason, and you're not going to be that at that point in your installs yet to where you want to run more complex things. Browns definitely ran more motion this week, definitely ran more real concepts that they're going to use during the season. Definitely asked Dillon to execute more of the playbook this week than they asked the quarterbacks last week to execute. Now, that might be because they trust Dillon more. That might be because it's the 2nd week in the preseason. There's really no definitive answer there. But certainly that did happen. Also, I want to say this. I don't think this is a good apples to apples comparison of him and Shedeur, in my opinion. They ask very different things from the quarterback positions in these weeks. And, you know, we don't know if Dillon would have played last week, if they would have asked him to do the same exact stuff that Shedeur was doing. We don't know if Shedeur played this week, if they would have asked Shedeur to do the same stuff that Dillon was doing in this game. It's hard to say, which is why I can't make a determination definitively on if the coaching staff trusts Dillon more than Shedeur. But what I can say is that Dillon was asked to execute an offense that was closer to a regular season offense against a defense that I thought did more regular season stuff than like Carolina did. The talent level might have been much better for Carolina, given that they were playing starters for a little bit of that game. But the level of complexity that they were running was not the same as Philadelphia this week. So I want to get into the apples to apples comparisons between Shedeur week 1, Dillon week 2. I think they're two different beasts of things. And ultimately, we'll be able to make those comps when these guys both inevitably play during the regular season. What I can say here is that watching this tape, you start to understand why it is that the Browns felt like Dillon Gabriel was a 3rd or early 4th round pick. The arm strength, I think, is more impressive than I thought it would be, especially coming out of Oregon, especially coming out the Senior Bowl. His ability to find the middle of the field and find passing windows was pretty impressive in this game as well. There are obviously things he needs to work on, right? I think he doesn't like to throw the ball out of bounds no matter what. I think that's a Dan Lanning thing, to be honest with you, where like Dan wants you to just take a check down versus throw it out of bounds. I would prefer him a couple of these times to just dead the ball, live to play another day, but he does not do that. He's going to be a game manager. You can't turn the ball over twice, right? Like, that's the one thing you absolutely cannot do if you're going to be a game managing style quarterback. I don't care which quarterback you think had it harder, which one had it easier. There's an argument for both guys in that. What I do think is that Dillon went out there, they asked him to operate this offense, and he operated it at a pretty good level. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'd be pretty happy with Dillon Gabriel here. Whether you think Dillon is better than Shedeur right now, or Shedor's better, or one has the higher edge when it comes to ceiling, those are conversations we're going to have later this year. But I would say I'm happy with what I saw from Shedeur. He executed what they asked him to do last week at a pretty good level. The same is true with Dillon. I thought he executed what they asked him to execute at a pretty good level here too. So I'd be happy with what you've seen out here on quarterbacks. I think this is encouraging to see Kevin Stefanski, Tommy Rees, and Bill Musgrave have 2 success stories in 2 preseason games with 2 rookie quarterbacks. So overall, I'm pretty happy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.